Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Titan Talk. Hope everyone is having an amazing Monday. I know we are because we released Aladdin, Joust, and Duel today, right, AJ?
Big day, big week, big couple weeks.
I know. It's going to be absolutely insane. I've already been watching streams, seen some Aladdin gameplay, seen some Joust and Duel gameplay. It's just been really awesome to see everybody hop into the battleground early, but tomorrow is the big day. We're going free to play. Smite 2 free to play on Steam, Epic Games, Xbox, PlayStation 5. We're really excited internally.
Oh,
I know a
yeah.
lot of players are super excited. So before we hop into free to play tomorrow, we were talking around internally. We thought it'd be fun to kind of maybe take it a step back and kind of just look at the journey thus far, right, AJ?
Yes. It's like we're going to take some time today, just kind of recap the journey we've had on Smite 2, go over some key stats and facts and where we've come and where we are now. Hopefully it'll just be a nice kind of way to put an end cap here on this alpha phase as we move into the next big stage.
I know. Well, I'm super excited about it. Chat, I know you are all super excited about it too. We'll definitely have some time for some Q&A afterwards, but it wouldn't be a Titan Talk without a PowerPoint presentation, right, AJ? I feel like Killgoon's not here,
right?
so
I'm
we
filling
gotta
in. He did make this presentation.
He did.
I already gave this presentation once internally because he's out. So I'm happy to give it again, but full credit to Killgoon for the presentation and all the work he's done, and congratulations to him and his family on their baby. Very exciting. So yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. Let's get right into it. I'll bring up the handy dandy laptop.
And then we'll do some Q&A and the usual stuff at the end. So don't worry.
Yeah.
But feel free to interject or interrupt me if there's chat is curious about something on slide. Please do. We don't have to do this full presentation style like I did internally.
Exactly. Cool. Well, got to pull up the nice new fancy beta key art. Looks really good. But let's talk about Smite 2. The TLDR is that tomorrow is free to play, January 14th, right?
Yes, that is it. It is a big update. So I know a lot of y'all have already seen most of these details, but we just wanted to put them all together, sort of a fact sheet mode, so you can really get a feel for the scale of everything. But 5 new gods, 3 new modes, big Conquest updates, 20 aspects, and then a variety of new items, performance optimizations, features like text chat, and more.
Yeah.
So, this is the next step in Smite's constant evolution, right? These live games like Smite, we're always evolving, always growing together. We started an early true alpha 8 months ago with only 14 gods, 1 mode, really rough performance, and a lot of missing systems. And look at where we're at now.
I know.
In just that amount of time. It's crazy. We worked together with our community all along to really improve what matters most, right? So want to shout out to, there's just multiple shout outs to the community in this deck that says, we really relied on the players, the early testers, people participating on the surveys and social media to help us pick what matters most. When we were building Smite 2, we knew there's a million things we have to make, and we were going to go a little wider. But as soon as we started the alpha test, it became extremely important. No, you need to put a little bit more emphasis here, less emphasis there. So now we went from 14 gods in 1 mode to 45 gods in 6 modes.
Yeah, no, we've got a lot of other cool stats like that a little bit later on in the presentation.
So
to go through too.
Although this is kind of an end of an era, alpha era is done. The work's surely not done, because if anything, we all know that this is only going to make us busier.
Oh, absolutely.
Opening up the floodgates to full free-to-play players who can come in and try Smite. We'll have a wider variety of players coming in, more players coming in. So that's going to yield a lot of comments, a lot of feedback to parse through, as well as more bug fixing and finding and things like that. So we're going to be really busy, and really we're trying to make sure we find that Smite 2 really feels like the next generation of Smite. And when you come to play Smite 2, you don't want to go back to Smite 1. We want you to love Smite 2 enough that you don't feel the need to go back to Smite 1.
Yeah, I've been seeing some content creators making some tweets and pulling up some videos, throwing up videos on YouTube saying, Smite 2 is in a spot that, it's better than Smite 1 already, which is really encouraging for the team to see.
Right.
All right, next slide. So, of course, why do players love Smite? Why do we make this game?
Yeah, exactly. We're going to go back through a few slides here about, what our even plan and goal was in the first place. So Smite has a couple key things that are driving its success. So our mythical competitive multiplayer action. Smite 2 is one of the only games in the space that brings together all the world's mythology into one battleground. It's really something we've always prided ourselves on. A lot of games focus very strictly on one era of one specific geographic region or era of mythology. but we've got them all. And that's a really unique, diverse thing that you can't really get very many other places. And we're also the action combat MOBA that works well on controller or keyboard and mouse, which is, always been a really important thing to have our console players and PC players all equally important and valued in the Smite community. We're not your typical MOBA, so we have, more console players than most other MOBAs have. Historically, over half, more console players than PC players, although the PC players don't like to hear that. But, historically speaking, those numbers, fluctuate up and down as things go. But we're a third-person action MOBA, and we were really like the first big third-person action MOBA. And we've found, I think, a really unique space still. Even in now there's multiple third-person action MOBAs even, but we're still a really unique space in our combat where we're not so shootery that you feel like you should just be playing a shooter instead. We're not a shooter MOBA. We never were. But we're definitely not a click to move, MOBA either. We found this really cool sweet spot in between that feels skill shotty, feels shootery, but not actually makes you want to go play a shooter instead. And we try to be the most fun MOBA, and that's not just the high level esports. It's also the brand of our studio, being casual and communicative with the players, doing meme skins way more frequently than most other games of our competitors would do, things like that, community driven things, just not taking yourself too seriously, right? Do good work, do well for your players, make sure the game is good and runs well, but you don't have to be pretentious about it too, and then we also have a decade of Smite success. So we have over 40 million players have played Smite 1 in its lifetime, resulting in over 200,000 total person years.
That's insane.
It's a lot of playtime. We have 130 gods, which is more than any other competitor except League of Legends. We've had over 380 major updates in Smite 1. At one point, I tried to consider counting how many I worked on. It's just too many. I was it's enough.
It's how many
it's
per
a lot.
year? Do the math.
How many patches did I individually work on a ship? It's a lot, hundreds. And we've had more voice actors than any other game in history.
It's really
which
cool.
Is that is a cool stat. And a lot of people don't realize that. I think what Elder Scrolls or something was number 2 after us. But we keep growing and keep adding more and more and more and more, right?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, next slide. We're going free to play tomorrow, but as we were beginning this journey on Smite 2, what were some of the core starting goals for us?
So we wanted to capture the magic of Smite, right? This is what our success is built on, the core third-person action combat within the MOBA formula. We didn't want to go too far away from that, right? And we started a little further away. If anything, the community feedback brought us even closer to it, right? Sure. Originally, we were trying to potentially experiment with some more differences, but it's become clear that that's not what our players wanted, and that was something that was really important to us. So evolve and refine, don't reinvent. Yeah. If the core combat was totally different, it would feel too different from Smite. It wouldn't feel like Smite. A lot of the people who love Smite would be, okay, it's the brand is the same, even if the game mode was similar, but if the core combat was too different, it just wouldn't feel like Smite. And a lot of people who we want to get on board for this game, our target audience, our players, wouldn't be into that. So we've been really trying to look for, what can we continue to do to sharpen and improve and clean up some of the things from Smite 1. And the other thing we've learned over the time is Smite 1 did a lot of things really, really well. Yeah. There's a lot of things that it didn't do well. There's a lot of things that had maybe some edge case issues or bugs or things like that. But the core gameplay and systems of Smite 1 are really strong. Yeah. So we're lending, really trying to stay true to that, keep that together, and then make sure we support that with all of the new tech and features we have in an updated engine. And then finally, respect and honor our community. Our first goal for this whole game was to get the Smite 1 excited, engaged players excited about Smite 2. Yeah. If we need to get them on board, and then that will give us a nice, strong foundation to continue to grow upon, get more people into the game from other communities and other places. But if those people aren't positive about it, then how are we going to talk a whole bunch of other people into it?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So making sure that we have a strong transition plan from Smite 1 to Smite 2 that respects their time, money, and accomplishments, like the Divine Legacy system, the badges, legacy gems, things like that, as well as making them an integral part of the development process with early testing and feedback.
All right, next slide. So the timeline so far, We announced Smite 2 a year ago, which is insane to me.
It feels longer. It feels like it was longer, but we've been working so hard. We've like crammed a lot into this year. But yeah, we originally announced it at January 2024 World Championships.
It's almost a year to the day, actually. It was January 14th, I think.
Yeah, well, it would have been like this past weekend or whatever, right? Like, yeah, I remember we were joking about that when the snowstorm was coming through. We were like, good thing we didn't do it this weekend in Texas this year where everyone would be stranded.
Right.
So Vegas a week later, everyone should have smooth travels out there. So that's when we announced it. The crowd was hyped. And then we began the alpha weekend testing in May 2024. This was like a lot of people still question this. Yeah. Why did you put the game out so early, right? And that's a valid question to ask. A lot of studios don't do that. They like to hold things until they're really polished. And then, that works for some people. We did not think that was going to work for us. Yeah. We wanted to get the community in early and get that valuable feedback early. Like, without doing that, we would have not been able to do a lot of the things we did do. We made a lot of art style changes, colors and maps and things like that, the saturations. We did core gameplay changes like bringing back Relic slot, changing the way the active slots work.
Consumables.
The consumable slots back to traditional Smite 1 consumables. Intelligence and strength and magical and physical damage. You remember that patch where we reworked some of those rules. We also heavily shifted towards more god production. Yeah. And we completely paused all skins and cosmetic production so we could do more gods. Yeah. We needed the community there to, really not just to guide us, but to be the validation of our hypotheses, right? Because it's an experiment, and you can make some pretty good educated guesses, but you won't really know the answer for real until real players are giving you real feedback and actually deciding if they want to spend their real time on this or not. So super important throughout that May alpha weekend testing. And then September, we began the 24/7 alpha, and like MOBAs are a lot going on. Even if Smite 2 in those days was a little bit more content light, we were like, there's a whole item that people didn't even build this weekend. Like, people don't even know what to do with this yet. Yeah. They needed more time to play so they could actually explore all those things. So we got a lot of different feedback when we went 24/7, and we also that's when we really changed our dev plan to make sure we were doing constant patching, which was really big success. That's one of the major advantages of the new engine and the new environment, networked environment, where we can ship hotfixes like super quick. Oh yeah. Multiple a day even sometimes. So we just started doing that. Why wait for a patch show and stuff like that when we can get a fix out to players now? Exactly. So we started doing that. We really worked towards that, ramping up those number of playable gods. We did a lot of overhauls for visual effects and audio and other feels like that, just to make sure that the game was feeling, up to the standards that Smite players expect.
All right.
So we all remember this too.
We remember this vividly, actually. Yeah.
I mean, of course, when you announce a new game in your community you've been in for a long time, people are going to be naturally excited, and that's great. But when people actually start playing and when gamers start gaming, they're going to get critical really quick. And that's okay. That was what we wanted. So we had
what we needed. Yeah.
Right. So we had really strong sales and really good hype for the initial alpha weekends. We even were the #1 selling game on Steam for a few days, which I remember we were sending around the screenshots. You could see the lists. That was sweet. But obviously there was some challenges and costs involved with that. So some players didn't quite have the expectations for what an alpha means, right? And it's hard to communicate to players. It was wildly up and down throughout development because that's just part of the process when you're building an early game. Yeah. So some players showed up and were just like, what is this? This is like really unfinished. And we're like, oh yeah, we know. But also, please play, find things, test things, work through things. So we didn't have much content. The performance was a little rough. Our UI was really early. And this early feedback probably started some negative, or definitely started some negative conversations about the game and if people believed it had potential at all. Yeah. But I think, we knew at the time how early it was, and we knew how much work we had to do. And I think now we've shown players how much progress can be made over that amount of time. So they see that these problems were fixable. Yes. Right? They're not unfixable problems. And the feedback we learned along the way at that point was super important to us being hyper efficient and targeted towards fixing the right, most important problems in the right order. So even though this early alpha definitely did generate some negativity around, oh, it's not ready, it's not gonna, it's just, it feels bad now, so I assume it's gonna feel bad forever type of conversations, it still paid off in the end for us. The game wouldn't be as good as it is today if we didn't go do all these steps.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right.
So what did we learn in those early stages, right? Let's recap and summarize here a little bit. Number one, over deliver. And this is such a Killgoon bullet point here. Yeah. Always be patching with the C in the middle of the word. You even got the he's on the slide, which is great. Ship fixes daily or even more frequently. We never want people to think that like nothing's happening, right? Yeah. So we're always working, but we weren't shipping stuff, so they don't know. And we had to refocus to just ship more content sooner, focus on gods. So we started shipping a lot more gods and game modes, slowed down on some other things, and shipping hotfixes daily. Yeah. And the other thing we did was communicate more. So, big shout out to you and Killgoon for all the work you've done here with this. I think it's been super successful. Players have been really positive about it. But our most vocal players wanted to see and hear the meaningful change. And they wanted to make sure their feedback was being addressed. So we started doing the Titan Talks, 3 live streams a week, just talking to our community, giving them updates, showing them behind the scenes, answering their questions. And like, it's been super important to keeping people up to date, right? There's so much going on in the world and in game space. It's hard to just get your updates. I don't know. There's just so many different ways to deliver it, get distracted, but at least you have one place you can come and see. Just check in on us.
Right. Yeah. Come hang out for a little bit.
Make sure things are still moving along and things are looking good. Ask a question, grill us on something. It's always there for them. And, I think this initiative has been really successful. We had to adapt and change our plans from what was the Smite 1 live plan. What worked at that time wasn't working anymore. So we had to keep shifting. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think the next slide definitely shows where we're at today.
Yeah. So the results of all those changes were significant. Our Steam reviews are coming up. We went a 14 to 45 gods, 68 to 93 items, 1 to 6 game modes, big art overhauls, lots of combat improvements. And really, the combat improvements are, there's a note here, the million little things. Yeah. A lot of people imagine the, action combat system as like a single entity and you can improve the core and that triples out to everything. And that's not been our experience.
Right. Yeah.
The issues are in each individual god's individual ability, individual animations and audio and effects not syncing up or not working as intended, and getting into the really fine details, especially Travis and Pon kind of leading the charge on there, but the whole team really making that a priority for
I know
every
you do
character.
A lot of work too, comparing things to Smite 1, like frame by frame to Smite 2.
Yep.
Make sure things match up and stuff like that. Yeah.
Frame testing. Everything. That frame data, we're like fighting game players now. Our fighting game devs up in here looking at the frame data. But yeah, it's important. And people have a really strong standard in Smite 1 to compare it to, so we have to make sure it feels, it fits. We have a new HUD. We've updated the HUD art and layout multiple times. Conquest map art and layout multiple times. Really big changes to monetization to make it even more player friendly, giving out much more free currency. So the daily logins are just pure diamonds. And the new god system, which we just announced for leveling up your characters, will get you free gods per level up, or if you're a founder, get you free diamonds per level up. And it's a significant amount, as well as we added more diamonds to the Ascension passes that kick you back a lot of diamonds. I saw another recent discussion about why are the Ascension passes so expensive, and not a single person in the comments was like, yo, you get like most of those diamonds back anyway, which,
I'm
no
pretty
big deal.
Sure you can go infinite if you
have legacy gems. Yeah. So we did a lot of shifts like that. And now
we talk open beta free to play, which is tomorrow, right? And this is just a quick recap for those joining us who haven't been in the loop over the past week. But like we mentioned earlier, it's a massive update. Pretty much everything is live now. Tomorrow is just the big day where we open the floodgates for everyone to hop in.
Today is the last day of like closed beta, but with all the content. So if you see any major Aladdin or Joust bugs, hit us up today so we can get that fixed.
For sure.
And then we have free to play tomorrow, and then Vegas this weekend. And hope the Vegas event is really, like a really big marketing event also for Smite 2. Historically speaking, SWC gets the most eyes on Smite, bigger than any, commercials or targeted ads or anything like that. SWC is our Super Bowl ad for Smite, effectively.
And I can't wait for this weekend. It's going to be really awesome.
This Vegas update will be, or this Vegas event will be a big way for a lot of players to get hear the news that Smite 2 is here. And it's open, by the way, which I'm sure you guys will probably be really tired of. Like the casters will be saying that like in between every break, like open free to play open beta, by the way, but they'll say it a million times probably, but that's what we got to do. That's how we get people in the game. It's gonna be really exciting. So there's a few more slides on this deck to kind of recap the OB1 content, but y'all have already seen all that, so we're not gonna go over it, but we'll take questions and we can jump to any of the slides if anyone wants a recap. If you're new to Titan Talks today, you can check the OB1 patch notes out on the website. The full patch notes are there for everything that's in this update. We've already shipped one balance update as well.
Yep, we did.
We don't plan to do any balance updates this week. This may be an important announcement to make.
Vegas,
So we're planning to keep no balance this week. We will be doing a lot of hotfixes, and Vegas will probably be playing with those hotfixes. But the plan is to not do any balance until next week, so after Vegas. And we're really excited to dig into the Vegas data to then inform our balance decisions, because that'll be a completely new angle to see the game on. We might see some really surprising god or item or team comp picks.
Yeah, well, gosh, like we said earlier, feels like we announced Smite 2 forever ago, but it's only been a year, and like what can happen in a year? So for me, it's just been really awesome seeing the dev team kind of tackle the work and get all the updates out. It's been awesome getting all the feedback from the community, seeing players continue to play each iteration of the game as we update it, all the way up into free to play tomorrow. So we're really excited about that. So I think that was all that we had prepped. So let's just open up the floor and take some questions.
I see some good ones already.
See what chat wants to talk about today.
So Kitao says, are you going to give the players an extra ban? Yes, we are.
Yes.
2 bans in Vegas, and also 2 bans should be going live in game possibly today.
Yes, I believe Ranked is live now. It should be live now.
And I think it has 2 bans.
Yeah.
I think it has 2 bans today. There's a chance that we didn't turn that on immediately because we can configure that from server side.
Right.
But yes, the plan is essentially we have reached the 2 bans. Okay, I've got confirmed. Yes, there's 2 bans. So yeah, 2 bans per team for Vegas.
Nice.
2 bans per team for Ranked. The bans, people always be cheering for bans.
I know, right?
Yeah. The Smite community, more so than any other game I've ever seen anywhere, loves nerfs and bans. Like you never see any place else. Like Riot had a whole GDC talk about how always be buffing and like only nerf when you have to. That was a long time ago. I'm sure they've adapted their script, their philosophy as well. But like Smite players love nerfs and they love bans. Sonics is asking about the resource bank for you, Isiah. I can't answer that one.
Yeah, it's kind of on the back burner. We've just got so much to get through this week. I'm sure that either Dandy or JMac or myself will put some attention to it after the big day tomorrow.
Okay, so yeah, teams are just busy across the board. We'll get you what we can from those. Let's see. I see some questions about healer rules. Correct. That was not intended to be in the game yet.
For Assault.
Correct.
Yeah.
Assault healer rules are not ready yet. Those are in progress though, so they should be coming relatively soon. I don't want to say next patch, but it could be as soon as next patch. I haven't looked at the progress on that feature in a little bit. So I know it's actively in progress though.
Cool.
So, but that was not actually, a lot of people just assumed Assault that's going to be there. We probably should have been more clear that that was like not ready yet, not going to be in there, but it's in there. Yeah, there are going to be some, so the Berg66X said, Lermy mentioned some future gods. There are going to be some gods spoiled, some upcoming gods spoiled in Vegas.
So Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, we're going to have a very special, I know the time zones, right? You got to, I think that's 2 p.m. Eastern for our East Coast folks, but we're going to be having a special edition to Titan Talk where we're going to be going over a little bit more of the roadmap past free to play. We're going to be talking about some of the gods
so you'll see
in the pipeline that we haven't talked about yet. So definitely want to tune into that.
I believe you're going to see the next 2 gods, at least in their entirety.
Yeah.
And then I believe we're going to do some spoilers for a set of gods, a couple gods we'll just reveal throughout the year, which will just be a small selection. We're going to do a lot of gods next year too, but we're going to confirm a few really exciting ones. And then there will also be some additional roadmap conversation about what's coming up. Yeah. Let's see.
I have a question from YouTube. When will we be able to see our ping/latency in game?
It's a good question. We have done some initial work with that where there's an option you can turn on that gives you like warning notifications. There was some weird symbols that showed up in the game one day and people didn't know what that was. That is that.
Okay.
So you can turn that on for now, and it'll give you like a connectivity warning if your connectivity is dropping or if you got packet loss dropping. It's a setting in the game now. We don't have an exact ping number yet. I'll have to talk to the team and figure out what our plan is for that. I don't have an exact estimate on that, but there is a sort of simplified version of it for now that you can use. Cool. Let's see. That's a lot of people are just going to be asking about upcoming features, which is completely reasonable. We're going to have a lot of, like, we're already planning all of the upcoming features. We have to, reprioritize a bunch and see what we can do, but we have a lot of big ones planned in the future. I'm not really going to confirm any specific gods, so sorry, person who keeps asking about Persephone. I cannot tell you when that god will come to the game.
I see someone asking about the Twitch drops Bologna skin. So J Dragon's Bologna will be available via Twitch drops on Sunday. I believe if you watch any stream in the Smite 2 category on Sunday for 4 hours, you'll get that skin. That's going to be the only way that you can get the skin for now. It will be available in some other form or fashion in game a little bit more down the line, but for now we're just encouraging people to watch in. It's grand final Sunday. You got to tune in, and you get a really sweet reward for watching as well.
So let's see, there's some variety of questions about bug fixes. Those are all really good. Thank you for reporting those. We'll keep working on them. Let's see. Okay, I don't know that one. Will it ever be confirmed the rate of God releases? We're not going to say exactly. We're going to keep up the pace, is what we were saying for now.
We'll talk about it a little bit more on Sunday. You know, just mark your calendar, set your alarm for that roadmap show this upcoming Sunday.
That's true. But I just want to say things don't always change. Some gods take significantly more time to develop than other gods, but we've got a pretty exciting roadmap for those.
Yeah.
I see some questions about performance. I just wanted to speak to that. It's like performance is a constant effort.
Yeah.
When you're rapidly adding so much content to the game and constantly changing things, it's not like we can do just like a final performance pass and then like expect it to be good forever. Every new god that comes in the game has some chance of introducing some other challenges. Constant code changes of a variety of systems can do that too. So we're constantly assessing performance. A lot of people have reported they see much better performance recently. We are definitely going to keep looking into continuing to improve that. If you can provide any more specific feedback to the team, that's always helpful. But it's going to be a constant effort, and it's going to continue to be a constant effort.
And I will say, I believe we implemented something in game for players that are on certain Intel generation processors that they released a BIOS update a week or so ago that should vastly help with performance. And I believe if you're running that hardware, you should get a pop-up in game that directs you to the Intel page with more info on how to download that BIOS update to hopefully help out with performance as well.
Yeah, we were working with an ambassadors having a lot of rough performance, and then playing Smite 2 this patch was not much better for them immediately, but they did a different BIOS update for their AMD card. And also we have some like shader caching type tech that actually, like, when the first time you see something in Smite 2, it might be a little bit laggier if you're depending on your system. So if you play some matches and get that out of the way, then it gets much better as well. Yeah. Which, we should probably, that's on us. I'm not trying to shift any responsibility. We should continue to troubleshoot that. We are. But if you feel like you play one game and you had some issues, like, try again, try a different mode. Some of that stuff can like smooth out a little bit. We have seen that happening for people. And double check your drivers updates and things like that.
I see people in chat saying the BIOS update helped them out a lot. So,
okay. Yeah. I also see a really good question here for when can we expect more aspects from am liking that.
You want to tease a little bit?
I don't want to. I'm trying not to give away anything.
I know we can't confirm.
But you can. We're currently working on aspects to launch next patch.
Yeah,
like we want to launch aspects every patch. Yeah. Some more than others. Maybe. Like depending on the complexity of the aspect or what else we're doing in the patch. We were surveying the ambassadors, and a lot of them were also really excited for us to make more items. So there's some similar bandwidth there. We can't do everything, so we have to pick and choose. But we do want there to be a consistent output of aspects. We're not trying to hold until some sort of mid-season patch and then do a big batch or anything like that. No, we want to deliver new aspects, new gods, new items every patch. And we don't want to make it too pattern-based or formulaic. Like, that's something that we think is part of the fun and part of the excitement, that you might get, 3 aspects in one patch, but then the next patch you might get no aspects and 3 items or something like that, right? So we're going to keep it shaking it up. But we're always interested to hear feedback on, what do you think we need the most? Which god needs an aspect the most? Which item archetype are we missing the most, right?
Are there any classic Smite 1 items that you want to see over in Smite 2?
I just got a list from the ambassadors already. Like, I got weeks of work on that. Don't worry. Like,
nice. Oh, you're prepped.
If you ask enough people, they will eventually say every item in Smite 1 needs to come to Smite 2. But there's a few. Come on, we can pick a few that don't need to come over. But a lot of them have withstood the test of time, So a lot of them are good.
Cool.
So we are doing more aspects, and we are going to be doing more items. It's just going to be a little surprise and shake up how much you get per patch and whatever, but you're going to constantly see them.
I got a good one over from YouTube. Can we hear about text chat and the chat filter? I understand the worry about toxicity, but it stops positivity, like saying GG after a good game or informing I'm dead after dying. Yes. We have a big thread going on with ambassadors. So for those that missed it, we do have 2 chat filters in game for Smite 2 right now. We are currently taking feedback and looking into a lot of the different instances for things that are currently being blocked, and we are able to edit those filters. One of our team members from Trust and Safety is actively going through all those and looking at the filter and figuring out, it's going to take a little bit of time for us to go through and get all those context words that may be toxic, but also, are used pretty often in just everyday Smite chat. Like, I believe, dying or dead is one that was brought up a lot.
Yes.
Like that, so.
Yeah. So the text chat is in the game for those who are, maybe didn't see that, which is a really important feature for a lot of our players, but it was the first update.
Yes.
So it was not fully functional. We are expanding it in functionality and bringing it to more places, more platforms, things like that. We have, so just general functionality feedback for it. There's a lot of balance and tuning feedback, so message duration on screen and things like that. We've been getting a lot of feedback on those. We're going to keep iterating on that. And the chat filter as well is also being updated. It was intentionally wanted to be taking it extra safe at the start, and then we'll work through it together as we go. I just think it's great that everyone's in there just talking like Ned Flanders, like, because you can't, you just got to be as polite as possible. Like, but that's where we're starting for now. And we think that will be, that's just a safer place than having it be doing the other way around, right?
Oh, for sure.
Rampant toxicity, and then you're trying to, whack-a-mole it away. Way worse. Yeah. So this is a much more reasonable method to work through it. And we, I need to diddly gag my ho diddly jungler. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we need to be talking like in there. Put on your Sunday best when you're in the chat and Smite too. But good question. And we will continually, I'm sure we have updates, and I don't have notes in front of me, but I'm sure we have updates prepared for the next update for that stuff already. New gods can't say. TTK. You want to talk about the TTK? That's a scary one. I mean, someone saying TTK is very low, so it means 2 gods are too squishy. Someone else saying I don't really agree with you. I think we have a lot of balance edge cases to still run through. There are certain extremes, right, depending on certain times and builds and things like that. So we are looking into that stuff, right? We don't really expect to need a massive TTK update anytime soon, but we do need to look at, individual power of starter items, which are really impactful, or like specific late game items that are scaling too high. Like we nerfed Heartseeker recently. That was one that was causing a lot of really late game hyperburst type of effects. So I think in general, we feel pretty good about the time to kill. So that's how squishy and tanky the whole game is. We feel pretty good about it. We want the game to be riskier in Smite 2 in the early game. We don't want to be the full padded, you can't die early in Smite 2. But yeah, there's a lot of things to still work on the tanks versus DPS, squishy versus squishy, how those characters interact with each other in damage and time to kill in the early game versus the late game. The Conquest map as a whole influences that a lot. So just one of the biggest things that influences that a lot is the gold value. It's like if gold is outpacing experience, generally everyone feels squishier.
Yeah.
This is just a historical data point we've had from years of Smite. 1 mostly. So recently we've had Conquest and Smite 2 have an abundance of gold. So that is going to contribute to making it even feel more bursty at all stages in the game. So we're going to be looking at doing some Conquest economy adjustments as well that will, balance that out for the pace you acquire your items. It has a lot of other advantages too, but it will also affect the TTK. So, this is something that's going to be a lot of exciting balance updates in the next few months to see how this stuff shakes out.
Yep. I've seen it across Twitch and YouTube, just people asking if we have any updates on bots, any improvements to like bot AI. Do we have plans to add more bots for custom or player versus AI matches, stuff like that?
Those are making constant improvements. They already do a lot of things that Smite 1 bots couldn't do. I don't have any specific features coming to mind that's coming, but I know that it is something. It's going to be like performance. It's going to be a constant process. We want to keep making it better and better. Make sure you can play against bots. Our goal is to make it that playing against bots can be a fun and engaging activity on its own. Like I know some of you out there who are like, I'm too good for bots. They'll never be fun. That's okay.
There are a lot of people who just love to slam bot matches.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
And that's great. So we, one big patch note was we recently increased the amount of mastery you can get from bot matches by a significant amount. In Smite 2. It was stopping at level 4. Now it stops at level 7, which the curve of, for full transparency, the curve of mastery changed a lot from Smite 1 to Smite 2. So now it's set to more like, it's almost exactly the same as the amount of worshippers you could get in Smite 1 in bot matches. So it's level 7, but you're only a little bit over halfway there because we kind of weighted those end levels to be a little harder in Smite 2. But yeah, we're going to keep working on those bots. They're great for practice. They're great for learning. They're great for new player experience. We're definitely working on them. Yeah. There's people asking about upcoming gods and upcoming pantheons. I can't comment on those. I just say anything is possible. Okay. Yeah. Anything is possible, but I cannot say exactly what's coming up. Can't tell you if Ratatoskr is going to be in the next 50 gods. Can't tell you. Not right now. Because then everybody will ask for their god when it's going to be, and then you'll know all the gods. So I can't tell you all the gods. Stormlight Archive collab. I would love it. Brandon, if you're watching,
I know, right?
Where the whole design team is reading book 5 right now. So that would be a sweet crossover. The characters map well to Smite abilities too, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not caught up. It's been on my list. Aggro's been trying to get me to read them forever. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Let's see.
Double Worshiper slated. I believe we do have Double Worshiper slated.
That'd be a you question.
Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, is that confirmed?
I'm confirming.
Have we announced
here.
it before?
No, we haven't announced
now
it.
You're announcing
I'm announcing
okay,
it
well we
here.
got to do it
it's
now.
It's supposed to start tomorrow, I believe.
Why not? Right?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, even if it wasn't supposed to start tomorrow, I'll just talk to somebody. We start tomorrow. You got to get people hopping in and getting their Ascension passes lined up. When we are free to play.
Wave 2 January gods on schedule. All the gods in January are scheduled to be released, and they'll make it. I'm working on 2 gods right now that are launching in late January. I've got a lot of work to do still, but they're gonna make it. They're gonna make it. There's no way they won't make it. They'll make it there. Let's see. I don't know a lot of these. I can't tell you when the gods.
Let's see. Why was the character rotation removed? It's nice to get a full view of skins. So will that be returning?
I think you can.
I think there was an issue where it wasn't working on console, but I believe that was fixed yesterday. So
should be able to rotate the gods in the front end now. Yeah,
I will give it another shot today and make sure that it's working.
And kind of the boilerplate answer I give for this type of question is nothing was removed. Removed. It's a little bit of a semantics and me being a little bit of a stickler. Nothing was removed. We have to remake everything from scratch. So nothing was removed. It's just some stuff didn't get remade yet. And it takes a lot of time to remake every single. We had 12 years of Smite 1 work. And we've gotten surprisingly far.
We've done a lot in a year.
One year of public, and honestly, before, what players saw before even then was pretty rough. So it's like a lot of the progress has been made in this year. We've made a lot of progress, but it's like nothing's removed. We got to take time to put it in as a time. This is a good one too that I've kind of been like on soapboxing about recently. Halos says, I feel like Pele missed an opportunity for int scaling. Fire and lightning feels magical. So,
Not the glasses.
yeah, one thing I want to be careful of in Smite 2 is that if every god has int and strength damage scaling, then effectively there is no int and strength, right? If you really feel like every god should have int and strength damage scaling, then you don't want int and strength at all. You don't want magical physical power. You just want one power stat. And you would just have a bunch of different items that have one power stat. And you would just have a wider variety of passives and supplementary stats and other such effects, right? I think that the int and strength system has a lot of value to create these different types of gods and different types of builds. And it's one of those things where it's constrained, but those constraints actually force you to be more creative and they push gods into a wider set of archetypes. If you just have one power stat, then the builds are much more likely to converge on one optimal build for like every DPS character, right? And that's just not as exciting. So like Pele, if she just got int damage, because she feels magical, you're right, she could have it. I think it would make sense for her. Other gods that are like super physical, like Hercules, feels very weird to give Hercules intelligence scaling. It just doesn't feel right, even if he did. So the main design tool we use internally is, what about building the character strength versus int would make the character play differently? So like Pele, if you just want to do a ability burst assassin that builds int or an ability burst assassin that builds strength, that's not a meaningful gameplay difference. That's not something we really just want to support. That's just item converging. Then Pele just gets the double dip, no downside. That's just making everything ubiquitous. Not really interesting. But if we can take some more time, and we still might do this, we've already discussed some pitches, so I'm not going to confirm it's happening for Pele, but we have been discussing it on like, if you do build int Pele, what changes, right? Something has to be different in her play style. So we were playing with more maybe a lifesteal build and her passive scaling up and doing more things like that, or her fuel management, like never running out of fuel when she's on int, but she doesn't quite do as much burst damage like the full strength one. We have to build in some actual unique gameplay kit changes. Most of the gods, or all of the gods that have both scalings have things like that. So Pele was one of the gods that when we were working on, we even saw community feedback. People were saying her and Baron were some of the gods they didn't want to change that much. So we didn't want to inject a whole bunch of crazy stuff like that into her. But we still might be able, we can go back and do that stuff anytime. We could surprise you any patch and do something like that. But that's my spiel on int and strength. And if it's just damage and it's just in similar quantities, then it's actually not really doing anything except giving that god a weird advantage where they can just pick and choose any item from the whole game as opposed to strength and int items. But yeah, good question. And hopefully we can see, I don't know if an aspect really fixes this either. So you choose an aspect and now all of Pele's scalings change from strength to int. That doesn't make her play any differently. She just builds Chronos Pennant and Ratatouille instead of Jotuns and Brawlers. It's like, it doesn't actually make it better. She needs, I think, something about her play style has to actually change. So if you're going to build int, we would want to do something else to her kit that is just different and plays in with the intelligence style. So usually that's utility or ability damage. So maybe her basic attacks drop off. Maybe her melee eruption gets lower damage and her ranged stuff gets bigger. She becomes kind of a mid-range poke assassin with int and something else. She needs something actually different about her kit, not just I want to build the mage DPS build and play exactly the same. Right? So that's that. I know I went for a long time on that one, but we've talked about it a lot.
No, yeah, that's a good point.
I can't say which gods I'm most excited for because then I'll be confirming gods. I know some I've already confirmed. I'm not supposed to. Let's see. How much more time we have? 15 minutes or so?
Yeah, 15-ish minutes.
Okay, that's cool. We're still getting a lot of questions.
I know, right? Will Ward Chalice ever come back? Will the new wards from Smite 1 ever come back, like Raven Ward or Stealth Ward?
All of those have the possibility to come back. I would say they are not as high priority as a lot of the other new aspects and items and God Plus ones we have on our to-do list right now. Ward Chalice was was it buffed in late stage Smite 1?
I think it was.
Did it get buffed? Because it was like, nobody bought that nobody bought that for years. We tried buffing it many times. Most people didn't buy it. Eye of Providence is better Ward Chalice, and Eye of Providence is really good, and we still can't get people to buy it. So like, the Ward Chalice has me kind of like, I don't think it's super high priority, but it certainly could come back. The other unique wards, I think those are cooler than Ward Chalice.
Yeah, I'm a Raven Ward enjoyer myself. I think it's just really cool.
I'd like to continue to build them into like Eye of Providence too. Like Eye of Providence could have the cool wards in the active item instead of separately. I've had a pitch for a ward synergy item. So like an item that gives you bonuses the more wards you have on the map, and then you want to buy all the different types of wards and like try to deploy them all for these bursts. It's like
a Scorpion,
unique
Cyclops
tank
camps too.
A unique kind of like support build. So like we have some pitches in the tank that we might want to bring back, but can't confirm anything specifically. But we're excited about it.
Do we have stats on how many people build an item? Yes, we have all the stats from Max.
We do. Yeah. So item popularity is a pretty good one to check. You can just get a quick look at something like that's one of the reasons why like Stampede and Screeching Gargoyles got really big buffs, because those were like really low purchase rate. And on paper, it's like, a silence on a god that doesn't usually have a silence. That's a big feature. But it wasn't quite enough to get people to... It's very vote with your wallet type of thing when you get to Smite items. Like, we can really tell if no one's buying them. And we do look at that. Item win rate is much harder to get any data from, because items are spread across lots of gods and builds. They all really like average out, or you get really weird outliers. But item popularity is a really useful stat. And I'd say the biggest improvement in Smite 2 stats, which I guess was kind of necessary based on the game design change, is now Max outputs our god popularity and god win rate by archetype. So we'll have like bruiser int raw, full int raw, like full support raw as 3 different gods on the god table, and we can see how the popularity stacks for those individually and how the win rate stacks for those individually. We see that for every god.
That's cool.
So that gives us a lot of really good data for decision making. So in a way, that kind of shows us which itemizations are popular. If we see like, oh, all of the int DPS characters are doing way better in their bruiser builds than their DPS builds, then we kind of know there's potentially a DPS item issue there. Let's see. Will we get pick and win rates? Well, you get to see. I'm not opposed to showing public pick and win rates of gods. It is a challenging process to compile and share. And it can be something that if you share without any context, people can draw really bad conclusions from. So there's some risks to just putting it out there without any work. And it's a lot of work to give the full story and the full picture. But I'm not opposed to doing it. I think we could probably do that.
Yeah, maybe that's
you could make it a recurring segment
on
Titan Talk with Lermy or
blogs,
Max, or Max could generate the reports and Lermy could come in and show you some of the key numbers. Or I'd be happy to. I was even toying around with the idea of like putting the win rates in the game.
Oh wow!
Some people were concerned about that. They would create this like self-fulfilling prophecy where you only see like the most popular gods or the most winningest gods, so people only pick those gods.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Yeah, I would think it would
spirals.
It would have to be maybe out of game and like a recurring thing, but just like maybe after the patch has been released or something like that. So like for OB2, we do a blog or something that showed the win rates for OB1.
Right. Yeah, I think so. There's a couple other good questions, but God Builder, we get this question a lot. Other one that gets asked a lot is HUD Editor. Those are both in progress. I think God Builder, we want to do some really cool things with God Builder. We have some high goals for that. So I don't know exactly how long it's going to take us, but those things are high priority. I can't confirm the exact order, but there is work being started on those types of things. So we want to do those. There was another good question I wanted to do. Oh, new fun starter items. When I said the ambassadors were talking about us needing items, starters was one of them. I believe we have one new starter and upgrade in progress. I'm not saying it's going to be ready next patch, but it's already started. So we will have a new starter item won't be too long before you get your next starter item. Starter items, though, are a unique subset of item, right? So we don't want to necessarily rush those out too fast. And we're not going to try to hold back on them either. We're not going to like wait to do a starter until we can do one for every role or something like that. We're just going to, if we find an underserved archetype that needs a starter, we'll just make it and get it out. I wish Alex was here. I wish Killgoon was here because I've seen there's a question about cross progression and like I don't know the details specifically, but
cross progression should
Smite
be active.
2 is
it's been active since 24/7. I know initially it was a little bit harder to take advantage of because while we're closed, you have to find a key for each platform that you want to link and then
So yes, Smite 2 has full cross progression on all platforms.
You just need to make sure you.
What are our plans for it? It works. Yeah, if it doesn't work, tell us, but it should.
Yep. Make sure you're going to link.smite2.com to link all of your accounts for Smite 2 cross progression specifically.
Ajax, love the hoodie. Where'd you get it? It's funny that we get that question because we were an Into the AM sponsor for like years and we were plugging their stuff. It's intotheam.com. They do graphic tees and hoodies and blankets and other stuff from a variety of games. But this Smite stuff
run out of time on that. Yeah.
The Smite stuff is no longer available for purchase there. Sorry. It was limited edition mint condition vintage hoodie here. You can't just go buy one anymore. I'm sorry, but it was on intotheam.com. They were a great partner. So there's still cool stuff on the site. If you're into graphic tees and stuff, check it out. Or they might have some of your other games you're playing too, because they're constantly doing crossovers. Let's see.
Can you lend me yours? That's hilarious. AJ's not giving up.
I've only got this one. I know people like to joke that I have a whole closet full. I've only got this one. It's getting kind of faded too, like it ain't as vibrant as it used to be. But I tried to like joke like I need a new brand for Smite 2, but then everyone immediately was like, put the hoodie back on. I was like, okay. Can we have tiki masks on buffs? That's a surprisingly popular feature. Not currently planned right now, but we understand it's popular and we will definitely, try to learn from it and potentially build on it or bring something back like it. We want Conquest to have constant evolutions to it as well. So we could surprise you any update with like a Conquest mechanic and things like that. So it'll happen. Clumsy's in the chat asking about Smite Card. Get out of here, Clumsy.
I know, right? Get back to work on Smite Card.
You can talk about Smite Card when you're on Titan Talk. It's my turn. They did, I think, have Persephone hoodies, actually. Someone else. I think that was one they had. Yeah. They had a lot of gods. I think, let's see. Is Assault the focus for the next map? Are we jumping back to Conquest? I think that was something Killgoon covered a little bit. I don't really know the answer. We talked about, we've got some internal pitches for a custom Assault map kind of floating around the studio. Okay.
I know we've got some concept art that's kind of being worked on. In terms of timeline or what's being prioritized, I think we're still trying to really lock in on an idea that we really want to move forward with for a custom Assault map.
Yeah.
So
I think we need more data.
Yeah.
We need to wait for this free-to-play update to go live and to have some weeks of match data to see where people are going, what they're playing for how long, where they're rotating out. The Assault map really is a lot of dev work for a skin on a map, really. I mean, I understand the lane width and some other things like that, but there's not that much going on in Assault, like to change it. People mostly want the same old, line. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to make a whole new map for that. If Assault is really popular and people playing it a lot, then we'll be like, okay, we should take this seriously. But I think a lot more value comes from constantly updating Conquest with new gameplay mechanics, new layouts that are then facilitated by art updates. Like I think I gave this answer on a recent Titan Talk, or maybe it was a maybe I'm mixing up an ambassador Q&A session, but like, oh no, I did. I talked about this on Joust, right? We can make a monster, but if we can make an NPC, that's just a skin. That's not as valuable as making a whole new mechanic with new abilities. If you're going to do it, I want to do it all. Yeah. So the Assault is kind of like that. Like we have a functional Assault. It works pretty well. If we really want to change Assault's layout and Assault's mechanic, then it makes a lot more sense to make an Assault map. If we feel like this plays fine on Assault, then it doesn't make as much sense. But there's a lot of data points to consider in making a new map. Making a new map's a really big feature for Smite. So we want to make sure when we do those maps, we get a lot of gameplay value out of them. Historically speaking, just reskinning the arena didn't do anything. Yeah. Like, we changed the arena art set and no different players would come play arena. Like, very little would it change. It would be the same people or the same, weekly or monthly patch day cycle. That didn't really do much. Yeah. So we don't want to just spend a bunch of development resources to do something like that. Yeah. I don't know. I can't answer that one. Still asking me about the upcoming Pantheons. I can't confirm that for you. I'm sorry.
Let's tune in on Sunday, guys.
I can't confirm that, God, for you. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Let's talk, because I've seen it a couple times. Let's talk about, I know we mentioned it on the Joust show, but let's talk about ranked Joust.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Kind of where we're at. Of course, casual modes to go with for now, but I know something that we're thinking about is ways to introduce the feel of ranked without necessarily splitting the queue.
This is still a pitch in the early stages, right? So we don't currently have plans for ranked Joust as a separate queue. We see enough data to convince us that we should do that. Maybe we will. Maybe Max will want to run an experiment. We can do like a weekend mode, kind of a Smite night style ranked Joust. Maybe we can try something like that. Ranked Joust historically was very low play count. So, and even I was a Joust main for many years, and ranked Joust was really about farming up some prestige. Yeah. I used to queue in casual Joust all the time, and I would run into Paul and Aquarius and Trelly, and you would get these really competitive matches in the casual Joust scene where people were playing, because people just want to play. Yeah. There's really good players in the casual Conquest, high elo casual Conquest in Smite 1. A fantastic place to play. Yeah. The ranked, the ranked label, right? So you just get the numbers, which is nice. You have the badge to show you that. But it's generally just putting you in worse matches with a smaller population that take way longer to get started. So a lot of people weren't that interested in it. I know a lot of people are coming in saying they want it, and I'm sure you all were some of the people that played Joust, but just looking back at the numbers in Smite 1, it was very low. So it doesn't do us a lot of good to split a few people off to wait longer, play worse matches, mostly stomps until you play the other 3-man, the people you probably know because they're also good. And then, it takes forever, and then you can say you're a ranked Joust, and people will still tell you that you're not good enough at Smite to work at Hi-Rez if you're a ranked Joust player or whatever. So that's kind of I think there's a lot of things we can do to expand it though differently. Yeah. I have some really exciting ideas around a sort of elite Joust built into normal Joust. This is just a pitch. We don't have time working on that for now, but I think that is a much more exciting way to do this than to make this separate queue that introduces a lot of negative experiences, a lot of segmenting of players. It just doesn't really seem super valuable. I know there's a lot of people really passionate about ranked Joust out there, so I'm really not trying to be negative or just say no, trying to give you as much as I can the objective decision-making process around the mode. Yeah. I think the biggest advantage of ranked Joust is it's essentially a UI issue right now. We don't really have set up for multiple leaderboards and multiple different rank modes and stuff in the game, but we could configure a ranked Joust queue really easily, I think. So that's good. So you could potentially make that quicker. But that's the plan for now. Yep. Ranked is Conquest. You want to play Joust, you want to play it competitively, just win your Joust games. It'll keep getting harder and harder and harder and harder, and you'll start playing the better and better players. We talked about maybe doing a tracker leaderboard for normal Joust. Yep,
Joust and Duel.
That would be a cool way to do it.
Cool. All right, well, we are at 2 o'clock, so it's time for one more question before we break and get ready for free-to-play tomorrow. So we'll let chat fill up just a little bit more before
someone's going to be, I want to use my one more question to ask for Joust again. Team ups, someone says in all caps. That's an interesting idea. We have pitched the team up type design before internally. Yeah. Actually, one of my pitches for Scotty way back in season 3 was that Scotty also afflicts frostbite and then Ymir
That's cool. Yeah.
could cross over with Scotty,
Yeah.
and they could each benefit from each other's frostbite. So like we've had this pitch, but we've never really wanted to do that because it creates these like forced pick comps. And that's especially negative in a MOBA where people start so spread out.
Yeah.
Like in a game like Rivals, you're all pretty together all the time, and they have team ups that crisscross in ways that, I mean, I'm sure that those are still, even in that game, are a blessing and a curse in some ways, because you might be pushed into picking a team up when you don't really want to pick that character, but you feel like you have to, stuff like that. But it works better in a game where everyone's all close. So this is not something we really planned for Smite 2. It's a cool idea though. And we've certainly thought about it before. And then you say, well, you just make less intense team ups that don't matter as much, but then it's not as exciting anyway. So it's lose-lose if you do that. So it's like we've thought all the way down this before. It's not really a plan. Aspects was really kind of that new thing we tried instead. Is that my last question? My one more question?
Yeah.
You got one?
Yeah, I got one. From YouTube, a few people asking about Founders Editions and will they still be available tomorrow? So yes, the idea is that Founders Editions will be available in the store for the foreseeable future. If you're hopping in for free to play and want to check out the game first before investing in a Founders Edition, you're more than welcome to do so. But I will say that today is the last day for Cacodemon 2 Ymir being a part of the Founders Edition. So if you want Cacodemon 2 Ymir in Smite 2, you need to buy a Founders Edition before we go free to play tomorrow in order to unlock that skin as a part of the Founders Edition. He'll be available again later on down the line. Not really sure when he will be coming back, but if you want that skin now, pick up a Founders Edition to unlock that. Plus all the other Founders Editions benefits. We talked about the 100 free diamonds per level up to level 50. If you're upgrading to Ultimate, you've got the tier 5 Zeus. We've got the Neath skin. There's a lot of cool stuff in the Founders Edition. So definitely want to make sure you're investing if you're interested.
Some quick last questions for me. Can you bring the Smite 1 map ping system? We do have an action plan for making sure we port that over properly. I don't know exactly what the timing on is, but it's been brought up internally. We agree it's a priority. There's also been one about, are you going to be making any new skins or a battle pass? We are going to start on more skins this year, and we are going to have something like a battle pass. It's not exactly a battle pass. We're still working on it. I'm really excited about it. There will be more information about that later, but those types of things are in progress.
Cool. All right, AJ. Well, thanks so much for kicking it with me for an hour.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to go ahead and end the show here and get ready for the big day tomorrow. Again, Smite 2 goes free to play tomorrow. Be sure to stay tuned to our official social media channels, our Discords, for whenever the floodgates are open for everyone to hop into the Smite 2 Battleground. But until then, hope everyone has a great rest of the day, and we will catch you all later. Peace.